Hello, dads. Welcome back to the Catholic Dad Show. My name is Matt Rice.
And my name's Chris Bartlett.
And we are both Catholic dads, and this show is for you. Today, we are... Go ahead, Chris. What?
We are here working hard to make your life amazing as a Catholic dad.
Guys, this is what I work with every single day. This is the cheesy dad that Chris is every single day. He finds something cheesy to say. Yes, exactly. Like that, Chris. He is so cheesy. Anyway, so today we are still focusing on and following this series, Why Grow as a Father. And today the episode is all about society needing us. We must grow. We need to grow as dads because the world needs us.
Yeah, so our impact in society is profound. There's a lot of different stats that we're going to go through and talk about what it means to impact society through fatherhood. But first, I wanted to break a couple of stereotypes.
Is this like the dad fails segment almost, but like the dad fails what the world thinks almost?
I guess to a degree, yeah. I always want to open up with some levity, so to speak.
Why?
And my
this show's not for fun. We're not supposed to have fun on this show.
Hey, screw you, man.
Yes, we always want to open up with something lighthearted because we like to have fun. And this show is supposed to be fun for us and fun for everybody watching.
Okay, so have you ever seen one of those paper towel commercials?
The paper towel commercials, like the Bounty Quicker Picker-Upper?
There's like a dad in the living room. Does this happen to you? And the husband/dad is over there trying to figure out how to do something with a bowl of Jell-O or open up a can of pasta sauce. And then he's just like, whoops, and he spills it all over the place. Like he's just a moron, right?
Yeah.
And there's this kind of stereotype that it's like, oh, it's okay, he's a dad, he can't do this. Like that. Yep. There's something about dads that are incapable of certain things, right?
Oh, that's and like the Homer Simpson dad. Like, and when I think about the dads in, like, when I was growing up, like the dads of the 90s and early 2000s, they're all idiots. Like there is not really a wholesome dad on TV except for Bill Cosby. He may have been the only wholesome dad on the sitcom, right? I know you're laughing.
Have you been staying up with the news? Like, have you been around in the media the last 10 years?
I'm talking about like portrayed on TV, not behind the scenes.
I ate so much Jell-O because of Bill Cosby.
Jello. We are like all about advertisements today. Bounty and
okay. What about Bob Saget on Full House?
Okay, wholesome. Yeah.
And he was a single dad.
But that's super cheesy. That's you. You're Bob Saget.
I'm not a single father.
No, I know the jokes. The cheesy dad. You're the cheesy daddy. Like you're the Bob Saget.
I would
daddy.
be more like Joey.
No, you are not Joey.
He was
not the
all
cool
dad
uncle.
jokes all the time.
Joey's the cool uncle. No, that's Jesse. Jesse's the cool uncle.
Jesse's the cool uncle. Yeah, Uncle Jesse.
Okay,
yeah.
Joey. I got Joey. Yeah, that works.
Okay.
So
cool.
anyway,
so
the dad stereotype that's out there most of the time is a goofball, a goober who doesn't know what he's doing, callous, doesn't care about his wife, doesn't care about his kids. And
shouldn't, right? Dad, so long as you bring in the money and you pay for things, then you should be able to sit on the couch and watch sports all afternoon, all Saturday, whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you go to the games, you're not even there to support your kid. You're there to fiercely show your kid that it's you win or you suck, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the dad stereotype that I see. A dad watching his own children, like on an afternoon, is called babysitting. And it's like, no, that's called fatherhood. Like we should totally be spending time with our kids.
So that's the stereotype that's out there. And there are other stereotypes like that has been out there. But one of the things that we did just for you dads to know that those of you that are on here watching this, you're not alone because the true stats that are out there that dads actually feel, dads actually believe are totally different than the stereotypes that are put out there. And so this is like to respond to that opening levity or whatever is to go just a little bit deeper and share with you guys really, what most dads think about their role as fathers.
Yeah, so 90% of the dads out there really enjoy being a dad and consider it the most exciting thing in their life. So if you thought dads only cared about their job, you might be surprised to find out that they care about being a dad way more than their job.
Yep. 85% of fathers consider being a dad the best job in the world.
Yeah, and
73.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Chris.
No, I stepped on your toes.
73% didn't even think their life began until they had their first kid. That's amazing, because I think about the difference that it makes between like when I had a kid and when I didn't. And like that whole, when do I become a man? When did I become a man? Like that's that moment almost. It's like, wow, now like my manhood, like who I am is totally transformed and changed.
And so I want to hear in the stats below, in the
Chat.
comments below, what's a hope or a dream that you had BC, before children, that you were just like, nah. And once you had kids, you're like, nope, that's not even something that I care about anymore. One for me, like I got, again, I'm going to keep going down the nerd route. I played Magic the Gathering in high school. And then in my young adult years, I got really into disc golf, frisbee golf. And one of my hopes was to get a hole-in-one, an ace in disc golf. And that was like something I was really working towards. Like, no joke, really working hard at. And once I had kids, I was like, nope, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time for these things. And it didn't matter anymore because something so much more important had come into my life.
Yeah. I think sorry, buddy. I think at some point in high school, I'm pretty sure I got an ace on. It was on a much smaller. It wasn't on like a really long throw, but it was definitely from the pad. I got an ace on disc golf. Sorry.
Oh, that's great. I also have gotten an ace on disc golf. So
but I thought you were saying that was your goal.
Before I was a dad, I ended up just going out and playing with my father-in-law and smashed it. No big deal.
That's a really weird thing to say. Does anybody else think that's weird? You said before you had children, you had a goal and you accomplished it. But then you did accomplish it. You said you did.
Well, I have
I'm
now.
so confused. Everybody on like watching this right now is very confused.
But I wasn't working towards it anymore. It just happened. I didn't put effort and time into it.
Oh, whatever. Like, okay. But yes, before children, there are things that we think that we are going to do. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. And then you have a kid, and you're like, that's not a priority anymore.
Now
if it
cool
happens,
stat.
it happens. Yeah. And apparently it did happen for Chris.
Oh,
gosh. but it's not a priority. Is that your little subliminal message to me every single time?
Oh, I think I wasn't subliminal the first time I used it. So, but here's the cool thing is dads out there are hungry for more information on how they can be a better dad to their kids. In fact, no dad wants their kids to be failed by their fatherhood, right? I mean, if you're really invested and involved, like there's not a single dad out there that's like, hey, I don't want my kids to go to heaven. That's my goal, is to not get my kids to heaven. So.
And I'd be willing to bet, based on these stats, that most dads are actually offended by the stereotypes that are out there by dads. Like when I'm watching a show and the dad is a moron, it's not attractive to me. Like shows like This Is Us, that's the kind of dad I want to be. Still messing up, still making mistakes, but loving his kids fiercely and trying to be a better man. Have you watched that show, Chris?
No, we saw Parenthood, and everyone said you'd really enjoy This Is Us. And then we started watching it, but my wife was like, time out, this is way too emotionally involved for me. I just need something silly. So we watched The Office for the third time. It
is definitely deep. And it, like, sorry guys, I cry. I'm a crier. Like, I cry, and like I've cried in almost all the episodes.
What? Every single episode? That's amazing.
It's really it's something else. And so those kinds of stereotypes, I think, like, dads are trying to break that mold, that stereotype, so that it's not normal for for Hollywood to put dads out there, and it's not even appealing. I've seen more and more dads in sitcoms and movies and stuff like that come out as good role models and good, strong men. Even if they make mistakes, they're still good, strong men, acknowledging their mistakes. And that is the power of what we can do as dads, being dads, changing that mold, changing that stereotype. So what are some other ways that dads are changing that stereotype, like maybe even from what their dad did to now?
Right. So I think there's a couple. Being more physically affectionate with the kids as opposed to stoic, distant, macho, to be able to give your kids a hug, to be able to say that I love you. Majority of dads, when they were surveyed, said that they say I love you more than their parents said it to them. 52% said they're more affectionate with their kids than their dads were with them. And so this idea of kind of like positive physical touch is something more than just a pat on the head saying attaboy.
Yeah.
But
I've
to
got
be able to
this.
give your kids a hug and comfort them.
I don't know if like I'm sure every dad has like their own thing, but I've got this thing that like I pretty much train my kids from the time they're 3. That when I say, "Do you know what?" Like their response is, "I love you." Otherwise, they get tickled to death. So like my thought is like that at some point in the future, when like I'm dropping them off at college and they're in their dorm room, I can say, "Hey, you know what?" And they'll say, "Yeah, Dad, I know." And that's like sufficient where it's not like it going to embarrass them, in front of everybody. But like, it's one of those things that I think, anyway, but I've conditioned my kids that like, when I say, you know what, they're like, "I love you. I love you." They're terrified.
Good. That's definitely the response that I want. Better to be feared than loved. Right? Or what did Michael Scott say? He's like, "I want people to be afraid of how much they love me."
No, it's funny though, because like I will have my kids will walk up to me and say, "Hey, Dad, ask me if I love you," or ask me like say, "Do you know what?" to me, because they want a tickle fight. They want yeah.
Well, that's the other thing that more dads are saying, that they do floor time or playtime with their kids more than their parents did with them. And this goes beyond throwing a ball. We talked a little bit last week about how our children need us, and those who have more floor time with their dad at all the different ages, right? Like, it's amazing as your kids grow up, and you've experienced this almost through the whole game. I would say through the entire gambit of like your kids not being able to walk to your kids being able to beat you in basketball. Like, that is the whole spectrum, man.
Yep,
And I just think that's amazing. But to be there and journey with them every step along the way is so important. And I really cherish some of the floor time I have with my younger kids and some of the front yard time I have with my older kids. Yeah.
So I just had a thought. So one of the reasons, like in society, why it is so important for dads to grow and to change, one is to impact our media, which is kind of what we've been talking about. So the way that dads are portrayed and the way that society, let's just say the American society, way they think about a dad, for a very long time was absent, unloving, focused on work, and or a doofus, right? And so in a society that thinks about a dad in that way, dads aren't needed. And dads are actually bad for children.
Right.
And so then you like the repercussions you have like that follow from that is, single parents, single mothers are just as good or better than having a father, because dads are bad, and so by us changing that stereotype and changing that the way that goes, the influencing society and showing people what a good father is, what a good father does, it impacts society in a level that will transform the way people think about fatherhood in general. Because right now the whole idea of a father and a mother both being necessary for the health of the child is not something that people assume. They don't think that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think they see it because of the shadow that an absent father casts.
Yeah.
Right. They're like, single mothers really have it hard. They're heroes. But there's single fathers out there as well.
Absolutely.
And they're just like, well, you got to figure it out. I mean, there is a different approach to single motherhood versus single fatherhood.
Yeah.
And the stats out there are staggering, and we're not the only ones seeing those stats.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a significant amount of government programming now that have been pushed towards it, so that we could raise up the dignity of fathers, so that our society could be better.
Yeah.
I mean, taxes, you want to have good citizens so that they get good jobs, so that they pay more taxes. Like, that's kind of the vision in regards to the government putting things behind it. A sustainable society has good citizens, and fathers help raise good citizens.
Yeah. And so the studies are showing how important fatherhood is. And so I think that may be also one of the influencing factors around kind of changing those stereotypes that are out there. If you stereotype a certain person in a certain way in the media for long enough, then they get villainized, or they get people start to think that they're not important, and then it
pigeonholed.
What's that? Pigeonholed. Nobody on this show knows that you don't know what pigeonholed is. So all of these people are new.
They get typecast. Okay, I'm sorry.
Guys, if you don't know, like Chris and I had a previous podcast out there called Ministry Leaders Anonymous. We had 370 shows or something like that. And like, if you haven't noticed, I tend to like to pick at Chris. And one of the things that what I like picking on the most is when he says a word wrong, or, well, that's pretty much it. That's the one I really like.
I'm like a scab. If you pick at me too hard, I will bleed.
So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and tell people, since you brought it up, he thought that the past tense of pigeonholed was pigeon-held. So when you pigeonholed someone in the past, you pigeon-held them.
Which means to typecast or stereotype or like...
But it's not a thing. It's pigeonholed regardless of what tense it is.
I believe you. I still can't wrap my mind around it. But yeah, I didn't cry at a This Is Us episode, so I guess I'm okay. Golly.
Oh, man. So anyway, the impact that we have as fathers extends beyond our family. And being a father privately in your home, or being a good father privately in your home, is a good and great thing. But being a good father out in public at the park, where because very often, or very easily, I could stay at home and my wife could take the kids to the park. But it's important for society to see me out there at the park, pushing my kids, playing with my kids, throwing the ball, playing basketball, whatever, and influencing society so they can see good fathers exist.
Have you ever dadded other kids at the park?
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Like, yeah, I was just there, and there's some monkey bars, and the little ones can't reach the monkey bars. And so I lift them up and then help them across the monkey bars. And like 2 minutes later, I've got 3 other children that are like uppy. And so now I'm lifting up other people's kids and helping them across the monkey bars.
And
I worry that some mom
minutes.
is going to come by and be like, "Don't touch my daughter, you monster." And I'm just like, yeah.
Well, so that's one version of dadding. I thought you were talking about discipline.
Oh, tell me about this story time with Matt.
No, I honestly can't think of a specific moment, but I've absolutely, told kids, don't throw that or don't do that. And it's not been my kid.
Sure.
And I've never gotten a really bad look. Of course, I'm not doing it out of anger or anything like that. I'm doing it to protect the kid and to protect other kids. And I've never been chastised for like, don't talk to my kid like that. But I expect at some point it's going to happen. Because my version of what's right or whatever is going to be different than what the world thinks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So anyway, but yeah, we need to be out there. We need to be helping transform society's view of fatherhood, because fathers are good. They impact their families in huge ways, and we need to make more space for that to happen in the world and in our neighborhoods.
All right,
what are you going to say, Chris? You've got something. Let's go.
Bum, bum, ba, 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 bum. This is the State of the Union address on fatherhood. Ba, da, 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 da. Dads make a big difference. You guys, children who grow up with an involved father are 39% more likely to get A's in school, 45% less likely to repeat a grade, 60% less likely to be suspended or expelled from school, 2 times more likely to go to college and find stable employment after high school, 75% less likely to have a teen birth. Teen, not a team. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. And then 80% less likely to spend time in jail. And so that those last couple ones that I mentioned actually create a burden on society. If you have someone who ends up in prison or is not able to find a stable job or something like that. So becoming a good dad, growing as a father, is good for society. Involved dads have a direct impact on their children's future. And the most important piece, I think, is the domestic church, or the family, is strengthened by it. But Pope John Paul II called the family the fundamental cell of society. So what builds our society? A bunch of families. Yep. And fatherhood, the crisis in fatherhood that exists, all of a sudden becomes a crisis of the family. And if the family builds society, then it's a crisis in society that we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. How does this directly apply to dads watching right now?
Well, that's a great question. I think that we as fathers need to stand more firm in our fatherhood, right? so that when we get pushback or different things like that, or you feel like, no, I'm out of place, like I'm going to step up and step in. Why?
Yep.
Because there's like fatherlessness. There's a plague of fatherlessness, right? And so those that come from a fatherless household, like 90% of runaway and homeless children are from fatherless homes, right?
Yep.
The percentage of rapists with rage, this is a crazy one from the National Institute of Justice, 80% of those who are rapists with rage. I think that's a little bit strange to be like, what type of a rapist are you? But 80% of them come from fatherless homes.
Wow.
Minors housed in state facilities, 70% of those minors in state facilities are from fatherless homes.
Wow.
I guess it's crazy, right? And in regards to education, 71% of all high school dropouts are from fatherless homes. If a child lives has a father in the home, they're less likely to repeat a grade. We talked about that. Like arsonists, 90% are more likely to be arsonists if they come from a fatherless home, like a repeat offender arsonist.
So if this isn't obvious, guys, if we want less people burning down houses or buildings, we need
Which
to
is
grow
not
as
a major
fathers.
problem, but it's a huge problem if it happens.
So all of these things, like all of these are reasons why we need to grow as fathers, because the impact on society is huge. Forget about the impact just on your kids, but the impact on society is huge. All of those stats would be less if we had like better fatherhood across the board. If all dads were growing.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
So the flip side of it is we don't want to cast a shadow. We want to lean into the reality that like our kids are going to be smarter. Our kids are going to be better citizens. Our kids are going to be holier. Our kids are going to know what it means to lead more. And we need leaders.
Yeah.
We need leaders, not just in the domestic church, not just in the Catholic Church, but in society.
Yep.
We have to raise our children with a mission. And I want to let you know that fatherhood has an impact. Like raise our kids knowing that fatherhood makes an impact. That's why we need to grow as fathers. Like why grow as a father? Because it impacts literally everything.
Yeah.
Because it impacts society, shapes society in the way that you play on the floor with your child.
And like on this note, this is a shameless plug in a way, but this is why you subscribe to this channel. This is why you share this channel, because it will impact your neighborhood. Like you go to your parish and tell every single dad to start watching this show or start doing something to grow as a father, because it is going to make parish life at your parish better. It's going to raise everything at your parish, and it's going to affect your town. It'll affect your job. Like get all the dads you know at your job, at your parish, in your town, doing something to grow as fathers, because it's going to transform your community if nothing else.
And there's, if you're frustrated with the political situation on whatever side you land on, let's make the next generation of politicians have better fathers.
Amen.
And that'll lead to better policies. I'm telling you. If you just want a better retirement home, right? Invested parents, especially invested parents who grow their children in the faith, make more money over time. I think it's those who participate in faith in faith activities through high school make 12% more per year on average over the lifetime than those who do not. So if you just want a better retirement home, like dive into this, lean into this reality for a variety.
Even if it's just selfish.
Yeah, even if you're just selfish, like just do it, you know? So,
all right. So we have a little bit of time left, not a ton. And every episode, we are going to have a segment on avoiding the millstone. And Chris is going to like do some jingle to make sure that this is a fun segment to transition into. Chris, where's your guitar?
I forgot it. I only get one prop. You only get one prop. Do not miss your chance to show. Okay.
All right. So this is based on Matthew 18:6. All right. And that verse says, "Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea." Yikes. Yeah. That's something that, like, just so you guys know, I've been in youth ministry for years, and that verse has been one of those that has haunted me as a youth minister, because it's like, okay, what am I doing that might cause one of these little ones to sin? But so the purpose of this is to think about this. But as I was as I was thinking about it, we just kind of listed off all the things that would cause us to avoid the millstone. Did you have a thought on this one, Chris? Because
I did have a thought. Yes.
But
First of all, because there's a gravity to it. Like, as we're introducing and really doubling down on this, like avoiding the millstone, there's two pieces to it. One is you're down and you're drowning because of a millstone. But then there's people back in the village that are trying to mill, and they're like, where the bleep is the stone? Like, it's like there's a double effect. Like, you just have to remember, it's not just avoiding for you. Think about those back in the village
who can't do their job anymore because you're at the bottom of the ocean with the millstone, with their millstone.
You've got it. You've stolen it. You know, you monster. So, yeah, I think one thing in regards to avoiding the millstone is to allow. We want to avoid allowing other people to define the radical gift and vocation that fatherhood is.
Yes.
And we see that, and we mentioned that at the beginning in regards to sitcoms and things like that. But it's like, you know, when it's time to, I don't know, bake the class cookies or something like that, and it's like, oh, my dad made these, and everyone's like, oh, it's like, no, be the most awesome dad ever and brag about it. Like, Go ahead and showcase your fatherhood, because I am seeing when other fathers are emboldened to step up and step into that role as father, into that vocation as father, which is a radical calling, that it emboldens me to do the same, to be like, man, that dad just stood up tall, and he stood up tall for the kids, or you know, to bring clarity to some of these policies or whatever it is. I want to do the same, you know, and advocate in the same way.
My thought on this, on avoiding the millstone, is not allowing those stereotypes to perpetuate. Either like allowing other people to perpetuate it, or like if someone like says something, oh, dads never do this. And you know it's wrong, you know it's a lie, stand up against that, stand up and say the truth. But then also don't represent that stereotype, because like that is leading other kids astray. Like those stereotypes are leading children astray.
Yeah.
And that's avoiding the millstone for this week.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Avoiding it. So I do want to talk about...
That's not the jingle. That is not the jingle.
Yeah, we're about to get lawyered. I do want to mention one thing. There is a stereotype that I actually really enjoy, and it's dad jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I love dad jokes.
You love the dad joke.
Yeah, I do. But look at the other side of it. Like, we won in that one, because dad jokes are like really cheesy, kind of fun puns and things like that. But mom jokes are just mean. Your mama's so fat that, you know what I mean? So, like,
yeah, I think you're right. When you think about mom jokes and dad jokes,
we won.
Mom jokes, yeah, we definitely won in that category.
Don't make no mama jokes. So, hey guys, we want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by The Village. The Village is an online community for parents, for dads just like you, but also for moms as well, to journey together to bring their children into sainthood. And so we want you guys to check it out. Matt, where can they check it out if they want to join the amazing online community, The Village?
I'm going to make sure that I pull up the right link this time, because the last time that I shared it, I did not share it accurately. It is ablaze.us/the-village. I think we should make that easier and it just be The Village, but maybe we'll put together an alias to make that happen. But ablaze.us/the-village. That's where you'll find more information about The Village and how to join The Village and be a village, because it takes a village to raise children.
Amen. And you will see more interaction from me and Matt, and kind of peek behind the curtain in regards to the Catholic Dad Show over on The Village as well. Hopefully you guys can join us over there soon.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining this week. We will see you again in 2 weeks when our next episode drops. And if you have any issues or any things you want to talk about, any questions, one of the things we want to do is a Q&A session where we take the questions that you have given us from this series of episodes and put them all in one Q&A session where we answer the questions that you guys give us. So awesome. Make sure and comment below, or comment in the dads group on The Village.
And go be the dad that God has called you to be. Thank you guys for joining us.